Hey everybody, Quinn here, and I thought that it would be a really cool idea to just go over the Shucks remix that I created called Shambles. If you guys haven't heard it, I have created a better version, and this is an even newer version than the V2 that is released. This is a version that I might end up using for a playable because I think it would be really cool. I'm kind of just going to go into some of the mixing, and I'm also going to show you the early versions, and that's the first thing we're going to start with, because I think that's a lot more interesting than actually delving into the FLP, but if you guys want to stay for that, you can absolutely stay for that. So starting off, I created a very, bass, just a small bass. This is way back. I didn't know exactly what I was doing, but it was my first time trying to make a very intense song. Literally all I really had was the piano, which I also had a lot simpler chords on here. The effects were definitely not final. You could definitely tell I just didn't have it fleshed out. Placeholder chromatic and very distorted and loud. You can hear the chorus already in the background. That is it, though. It is pretty much just that small, incredibly tiny section. It was a proof of concept. After that, I started just releasing previews. Here's Shucks Preview 2. I added a rain FX, and really the only thing that changed in this one, I believe, is some mixing. Oh, looks like the chromatic changed in this one. And then this is pretty much the first time I got to the drop, so. You can hear that there's a lot of bass, there's a lot of distortion with the bass that's kind of muddying up the rest of the mix, and it just does not sound clean. Obviously, I didn't really know what I was doing, but I think we're going to jump to the next most important mix, which was 4. Shucks Preview 4, I definitely got more in tune with the mix, but I also got a lot lazier with it, so it's still very loud and distorted, which honestly, V1 was very loud and distorted, and people still ate it up. It also sounds very empty. It's just very distorted and very empty, so obviously I didn't really like it. But we're going to jump right to 7. Shucks Preview 7 is where I feel like I really got my footing. You hear a more fleshed out instrumental, thicker chords, some layering in there. You could hear the chorus slightly in the background, better vocal mixing, just pretty much everything. The 9 Mile is kind of changed in this version. Now, I think the most significant change is definitely the drop, though, because it has become a lot more well mixed and full. I think one of the biggest reasons that I still have a gripe against the older versions of Shambles is simply because the instrumental just sounds like sound. I really like it when the instruments kind of really space apart, and I still think that the newest version of Shambles still has that issue, but when you have a mix that is already so heavy, it's really hard to make it and make everything sit correctly without a little bit of that overlap. But after Shucks Preview 8, it started being Shambles. I think Shucks Preview 8 was actually the last one I did before I ended up finishing it. It is. I think the only other thing to really go over now is the change between V1 and V2, because I know some people are kind of confused on what the change was and saying that it didn't really sound much different, so I kind of want to show, yes, it is very different. So let's start off with just listening to the original Shambles. Let's listen to 2.5. Vocals are obviously louder, but everything stands out more, and it doesn't feel as everything doesn't feel as choppy because it's less distorted and more just actually just mixed and not lazy, pretty much. Now, what I really like is the difference in vocals between the original Shambles and the new one, and I'll show you how I did those vocals too. The original one is pretty simple. Now, if we go to the new one, you can you could definitely just see a difference. And honestly, I still think that I could do better with this. But I'm not touching this anymore. This has already been hell. So let's start off and just kind of show how I made it. First things first, I didn't look at the original FLP for this. This was pretty much done completely by hand. I did look at the Shucks FLP eventually to get the chromatics. I also did grab the vocal track for the vocals originally because I wanted to see if I could work off of that to make my own vocals, and I did. I believe I might have actually changed the vocal track entirely in 2.5, but I don't remember exactly. But other than that, that's the only thing I ever grabbed from the FLP. I didn't really like the mixing style of the original Shucks. While it worked for what it was lazier mixing. But it was really, I mean, obviously Shucks does sound good. I'm not going to pretend it doesn't. But the main thing that I grabbed was the chromatics. And the funny thing is, a fun fact about this, is actually, I made a lot of the original Shambles without listening to Shucks really at all. I literally just made it from memory, which I think is pretty cool. So let's just go into the intricacies. The main thing that I want to talk about are these chords. I really like how these chords came out. Obviously, very, very pretty chords. I don't know how the hell I did that. I must have been smoking something that day. Now, what I really like is the layered orchestra. I think it's very beautiful. I believe it is strings. It's cellos. This is pretty. Now, let me show you exactly how I mixed all of this to sound at least a little coherent. Now, what I will say right now, here, just for the sake of hearing the instrumental, I will turn off the vocal track, and you guys can just hear the instrumental. Now, I think, let's look how I did the mixing now. I'm kind of scared, but let's look. So, it looks like for the kick, I did pretty much what I usually do. You lift the high end, you lift the low end. Yeah, I added compression, which is the sound goodizer. It also increases the gain. So I did turn down the kick a little bit, probably to decrease distortion. If I look at the main track that's for some reason called Lyrics 2, I just added I added some compression in the high end and middle mostly, but also compression in all zones, but the high end and middle definitely got more compression, with the high end having the most, which I think might be the problem, because I think I might honestly turn that down a little bit. Now for the parametric, I did add a parametric equalizer, it looks like, to the mix, which I don't really like doing this. I don't like adding an equalizer to main because I feel like that just kind of shows bad mixing, where there's kind of emptier parts that you need to increase the volume of. I don't know why I did this. I don't know exactly why I didn't go back and edit the mix to make it cleaner, but honestly, I was probably just rushing it, so I'm not even going to question myself. Usually that's not a practice I would do, though. If we go through all of these now, you can see that I use sound goodizer on pretty much everything here. It's just compression and extra gain, and it's kind of a habit that I had around the time that I made Shambles, where I would add sound goodizer to almost everything because I did like how the compression sounded on most things, but I definitely don't do that anymore for a very obvious reason. If I had the chance, if I had like a mindset that wasn't like despising Shambles honestly for what it is, I probably would come back and completely remix it. I just really don't feel like it. Starting with the stage grand, we can look at the equalization and what I did. It looks like I didn't equalize the piano at all. Maybe I accidentally turned off the equalization, but you can see that I would cut out frequencies for pretty much every single. Why is it all gone? Why are all the equalizers off? I don't know. I don't know why the equalizer are off, but let's see if I can find one where it's on. Okay, here's Serum. Thanks, Serum. I believe that this is actually the lead during the vocal part. It is. So obviously, because it's a lead, I wanted to do a little bit of high, mid, and mid for, well, just for the frequencies. Definitely wanted it to fit in there hard, especially with how the vocals are pretty goddamn loud. I wanted to make sure that you could actually hear the lead above it. Now, I think that honestly might be one of the flaws, is the vocals are loud. They're heavily, I added a crazy amount of effects to try and make them sound funky, but in hindsight, that might have made them sound muddier and just worse. Again, this is not perfect at all. Please don't use this video as a frame of reference. This is just me showing off what I did, and I'm definitely not going to practice a lot of the things I did for this in the future. This is just what I did for specifically this song.
You hang your bones on the walls, your screams hide from the...
This is the original lyrics. Now if we can go to here, this is the layered lyrics for B2.
Hang your bones on the walls, your screams hide through the halls.
After that, simply we have this little end part here, which is the loudest part of the song because I just layered fucking everything. I was so tired of making this song. Now, I will say, I think I am a sucker for this part simply because it does sound really good with the vocals. It is loud, but I really like it. And I think that this lead is honestly what really brings it in for me. It's just an arpeggio, and it is really, really clean. I think it fits with the mix here very well. I would definitely say that's one of my favorite parts of the entire song, even though I don't like it. I think the smoothest part when it comes to actual mixing is Rose's part. It's 100% the cleanest part with mixing now that I re-listened to it. Honestly, I think that's really everything I really wanted to show. Anyway, guys, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.